Have you ever met someone who seemed absolutely charming, helpful, even magnetic, only to discover later that something felt deeply wrong? That unsettling feeling in your gut that you couldn't quite explain, even though everyone else seemed to love this person. You're not paranoid, you're not being dramatic, and you're definitely not imagining things. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, understood something that most people never learn. He said that the most dangerous individuals are not the obviously aggressive ones. They're the ones who have perfected what he called the persona, a carefully crafted social mask designed to hide their true nature. These people don't announce their toxicity. They wrap it in charm, kindness, and an almost irresistible likability that makes you question your own instincts. Today, I want you to pay attention to something that could literally change your life. We're going deeper than surface-level red flags that everyone talks about. We're going into the psychological territory where your unconscious mind is already trying to protect you, but your conscious mind keeps overruling it because this person seems so nice, so helpful, so perfectly normal. Jung discovered that our unconscious picks up on microsignals that our rational mind completely misses. Tiny inconsistencies in behavior, energy patterns, emotional reactions that don't quite match the situation. Your body knows, your intuition knows, but you've been taught to ignore these signals in favor of being polite, giving people the benefit of the doubt, not judging too quickly. What if I told you that this politeness, this desire to see the good in everyone, might be putting you in serious danger? Not just emotional danger, but psychological manipulation that can take years to recover from. Because the people I'm about to describe don't just hurt you once. They study you. They learn your weaknesses, your hopes, your fears, and they use this knowledge like a weapon wrapped in a smile. In the next 20 minutes, we're going to explore 5 psychological patterns that Jung identified in people who wear masks of goodness while harboring something much darker underneath. You'll learn to recognize the subtle signs your unconscious is already picking up on. You'll understand why your gut reactions are more accurate than you ever imagined. And most importantly, you'll never again dismiss that inner voice telling you something isn't right just because someone appears to be the perfect friend, partner, or colleague. If you're ready to develop the psychological awareness that could protect you from years of manipulation and emotional damage, make sure to subscribe to this channel. We dive deep into Carl Jung's insights about human nature, the ones that help you see through masks and recognize people's true intentions before they can harm you. This isn't about becoming paranoid or distrustful. It's about honoring the deep wisdom of your psyche, the part of you that Jung said connects to universal patterns of human behavior. Your soul knows how to spot danger, even when your mind can't articulate why. First sign, the almost perfect timing of their helpfulness. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to appear in your life exactly when you're vulnerable? Not coincidentally, but with an almost supernatural ability to sense when you need support, validation, or assistance. Jung would have called this the predatory instinct disguised as compassion. Here's what's really happening. Truly manipulative people are emotional hunters. They don't randomly select their targets. They study people, watching for signs of stress, loneliness, major life changes, moments when your psychological defenses are naturally lowered. A job loss, a breakup, moving to a new city, family problems, health issues. These are the moments when your need for connection makes you more receptive to someone who seems unusually understanding and helpful. The dangerous person doesn't just offer help. They offer exactly the right kind of help, almost as if they've been studying your particular vulnerabilities. They know just what to say to make you feel seen, understood, valued in a way that feels almost magical. But Jung understood that this isn't intuition or natural empathy. It's calculated emotional intelligence used for manipulation rather than genuine connection. Watch for this pattern. They appear when you're struggling, but instead of simply offering support, they position themselves as uniquely capable of understanding your situation. They've been through something similar. They have exactly the resources you need. They understand you in a way no one else does. This isn't coincidence, it's targeting. The healthy helper offers assistance and then steps back, respecting your autonomy. The dangerous person offers help that creates dependence, that makes you feel like you couldn't have handled the situation without them. They become indispensable exactly when you're least equipped to maintain emotional boundaries. Pay attention to how their help makes you feel. Genuine assistance empowers you and builds your confidence. Manipulative help creates a subtle sense that you owe them something, that you're not as capable as you thought, that you need them more than they need you. Second sign. Their stories never quite add up, but they're told with such confidence you don't question them. Jung spoke extensively about how people create fictional personas to hide their true nature. But here's what most people miss. The dangerous person doesn't just lie about big things. They create an entire narrative about themselves that sounds impressive, sympathetic, or fascinating, but when you really pay attention, the details shift, contradict each other, or simply don't make logical sense. They might tell you about their difficult childhood, but the details change depending on what emotional response they're trying to get from you. One day, they were the victim of terrible neglect. The next day, they're describing a different kind of trauma entirely, and somehow, both stories are supposed to explain the same behavioral patterns or life outcomes. Or they talk about their career, their achievements, their relationships. But something feels off. The timeline doesn't work. The way they describe other people's reactions doesn't match how people actually behave. Their stories are designed to generate specific emotions in you. Sympathy, admiration, curiosity, a desire to help or rescue them. The truly dangerous ones are master storytellers. They understand that humans connect through shared narratives, so they craft their personal history to create maximum emotional impact. They're not just lying about facts, they're lying about their entire identity in a way that's designed to hook your empathy and make you feel special for being trusted with their supposed truth. Jung would say they've completely identified with their persona, the false self they present to the world, and lost touch with any authentic inner experience. But more than that, they've weaponized this false identity. Every story serves a purpose. Every revelation is calculated to create a specific response that serves their agenda. Watch for inconsistencies, but more importantly, watch for how their stories make you feel. Are you feeling sorry for them? Impressed by their resilience? Grateful that they're opening up to you? If their personal narratives consistently generate strong emotional reactions, rather than simply giving you information about who they are, you might be dealing with someone who sees storytelling as manipulation rather than genuine sharing. Third sign. They have an unusual relationship with other people's boundaries, especially yours. This is where Jung's understanding of the shadow becomes crucial. The shadow represents everything we repress or deny about ourselves. In healthy individuals, we gradually become aware of our shadow and learn to integrate these aspects consciously. But dangerous people project their shadow onto others while maintaining a perfect persona themselves. Watch how they respond when you say no to something, even something small. The healthy person accepts your boundary and moves on. The dangerous person will find subtle ways to undermine, question, or circumvent your no without making it obvious that's what they're doing. They might say things like, "Are you sure? I just want what's best for you." Or they'll act slightly hurt, disappointed, or confused by your boundary in a way that makes you feel guilty for having it. They position your boundary as unreasonable, selfish, or somehow harmful to the relationship. But here's the deeper pattern Jung would have recognized. These people don't just struggle with your boundaries. They seem to have an entirely different understanding of where one person ends and another begins. They might share personal information about mutual friends that wasn't theirs to share. They ask invasive questions disguised as caring concern. They show up uninvited or make plans involving you without asking first. They operate as if normal social boundaries don't apply to them. But they do this so smoothly, with such apparent good intentions, that you end up questioning whether you're being too sensitive rather than recognizing that they're being inappropriate. This boundary violation isn't aggressive or obvious. It's a gradual erosion of your personal space, privacy, and autonomy, done in a way that makes you complicit. You find yourself sharing things you didn't intend to share, agreeing to things you don't actually want to do, allowing them access to parts of your life that you normally keep private. Jung understood that healthy relationships require clear boundaries between individuals. When someone consistently operates as if these boundaries don't exist, they're revealing something fundamental about how they see other people, not as separate individuals with their own autonomy, but as extensions of themselves to be managed, influenced, or controlled. Fourth sign: everyone else seems to love them, which makes you question your own discomfort. This is perhaps the most psychologically sophisticated aspect of the dangerous person strategy, and Jung would have seen it as a masterful manipulation of what he called the collective unconscious, the shared psychological patterns that influence group behavior. These individuals don't just present themselves well to you, they cultivate an entire social ecosystem where they are universally seen as wonderful, helpful, charismatic, or admirable. They collect testimonials in the form of other people's praise. They surround themselves with individuals who will vouch for their character, their generosity, their trustworthiness. But here's what Jung understood about group psychology. Most people don't want to be the dissenting voice. When everyone else likes someone, expressing discomfort or suspicion feels socially risky. You start to question your own perceptions rather than trust your instinctive reactions. The dangerous person exploits this psychological tendency by carefully managing their public image. They might be incredibly generous in visible ways, always ready to help with public acts of kindness that everyone sees and remembers. They position themselves as the person everyone can count on, the one who always shows up, the one who never lets anyone down. Meanwhile, their problematic behavior happens in private, one-on-one, in situations where there are no witnesses or where your word would be questioned if you tried to describe what really happened. They create a situation where your experience of them contradicts everyone else's experience, making you feel isolated, confused, and doubtful of your own judgment. Jung called this gaslighting before the term became popular. It's the systematic undermining of someone's reality by creating a social environment where their perceptions are constantly contradicted by apparent evidence. The dangerous person doesn't just manipulate you directly. They manipulate the entire social context around you so that questioning them feels like questioning reality itself. Pay attention to this pattern. If you feel uncomfortable around someone but everyone else adores them, don't automatically assume you're wrong. Your unconscious might be picking up on something that others are missing, either because they haven't been targeted the way you have, or because they're also being manipulated but haven't recognized it yet. Fifth sign: they seem to feed on drama and crisis, but always as the hero or victim, never as the cause. Jung wrote extensively about how some individuals become addicted to the emotional intensity of crisis situations, but they lack the self-awareness to recognize their role in creating the very chaos they claim to be suffering from. The dangerous person has an unusual relationship with drama. Crisis seems to follow them wherever they go, but they're always the innocent party. They're always being misunderstood, mistreated, or unfairly blamed for situations that somehow keep happening around them. Their life is a series of dramatic events where they're either saving someone else or needing to be saved, but never simply living peacefully. Watch the stories they tell about their other relationships, current and past. There's always conflict, always someone who wronged them, always a situation where they had to cut someone off or were unfairly cut off themselves. They describe themselves as loyal friends who were betrayed, dedicated employees who were underappreciated, loving partners who were taken advantage of. But Jung would have recognized the pattern underneath these stories. The common denominator in all their relationship drama is them. Not because they're unlucky or because they attract difficult people, but because they create the conditions for conflict and then position themselves as innocent victims of other people's unreasonable behavior. They might tell you about how their last friend became jealous of their success, how their ex-partner was emotionally unstable, how their former colleague tried to sabotage them. These stories serve multiple purposes. They generate sympathy for the dangerous person. They warn you about the supposed unreliability of other people, and they subtly communicate that if you ever have problems with them, you'll be painted as the unstable, jealous, or unreasonable one. Here's the deeper psychological pattern. Healthy people learn from relationship conflicts and gradually develop better boundaries, communication skills, and the ability to choose more compatible partners and friends. Their relationship stories show growth, accountability, and increasing wisdom about human nature. The dangerous person's relationship stories never show personal growth or accountability. Other people are always the problem. They never learned anything from these conflicts because, in their narrative, they didn't contribute to them. This reveals a profound lack of self-reflection and an inability to see their impact on others. And now we arrive at Jung's most crucial insight about recognizing dangerous people. He said that the most important thing to understand is not their behavior, but your response to it. Your unconscious mind is constantly processing information that your conscious mind dismisses. Those feelings of unease, confusion, or inexplicable discomfort around certain people are not character flaws or signs of paranoia. They're your psyche's early warning system. Jung believed that we all have access to what he called the collective unconscious, a deeper level of psychological awareness that recognizes universal patterns of human behavior. When someone is operating from a place of deep psychological disturbance or manipulative intent, some part of you knows this before your rational mind can articulate why. The problem is that we've been socialized to ignore these instincts in favor of being polite, giving people the benefit of the doubt, not judging too quickly. We've been taught that our gut reactions are unreliable, that we should base our decisions on logical analysis rather than intuitive knowing. But Jung understood that this intuitive knowing, especially about people who might harm us, is one of our most sophisticated psychological capacities. It's processing micro-expressions, energy patterns, behavioral inconsistencies, and emotional manipulations at a level far below conscious awareness. Your body knows when someone's energy feels predatory, even when they're acting perfectly charming. The dangerous person counts on you dismissing these signals. They count on your politeness, your desire to be fair, your reluctance to trust your instincts when those instincts conflict with social expectations. They've learned to exploit your psychological sophistication, your capacity for empathy, your willingness to see the complexity in human behavior. Here's what Jung would tell you. The person who makes you feel confused about your own perceptions is dangerous. The person who generates intense emotions that don't quite match the situation is dangerous. The person who leaves you feeling drained, anxious, or somehow diminished after interactions, even when they've been nothing but nice, is dangerous. Your unconscious is not trying to make you paranoid or distrustful. It's trying to protect you from psychological harm that could take years to heal. The person who seems too good to be true, who appears in your life exactly when you're vulnerable, who makes everyone else love them while making you feel vaguely uncomfortable, is showing you something important about human nature that Jung spent his entire career trying to help people understand. Not everyone who seems kind actually is kind. Not everyone who appears helpful is actually helpful. And the most dangerous people are often those who have perfected the art of appearing to be exactly what you need, while systematically undermining your psychological well-being in ways so subtle you don't recognize what's happening until significant damage has been done. The greatest gift you can give yourself is learning to trust your instincts about people, especially when those instincts contradict social expectations or other people's opinions. Your unconscious mind has access to information that your rational mind simply cannot process. When it tells you someone is dangerous, even when you can't articulate why, that information is worth taking seriously. This isn't about becoming suspicious of everyone or closing yourself off from genuine connection. It's about developing what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming psychologically mature enough to trust your inner wisdom even when it conflicts with external pressure. The person who truly cares about you wants you to trust your instincts, maintain your boundaries, and feel empowered in the relationship. The dangerous person wants you to doubt yourself, ignore your discomfort, and gradually surrender your autonomy in favor of their version of reality. You have the right to feel safe in your relationships. You have the right to trust your gut reactions. You have the right to distance yourself from people who make you feel uncomfortable, confused, or diminished, regardless of how other people perceive them or how nice they appear to be on the surface. Jung's greatest insight was that becoming psychologically healthy means learning to honor the wisdom of your unconscious mind, while also developing the conscious awareness to understand what it's trying to tell you. When it comes to recognizing dangerous people, your unconscious is already protecting you. Your job is simply to listen.